Hi, everyone. Henry DeVries with Agency Rainmaker TV, and have a guest today who can talk about making it rain, finding right fit clients. Bela, please introduce yourself and tell us about your firm.
Hello, Henry. Nice to chat with you today. Thanks for inviting me on your podcast. My firm is retired. I am a retired, let's see, last thing I did was I was a college business school dean and professor. Before that, I was a venture capitalist. And before that, I started a couple of companies, venture-backed businesses. One that I took public, and I also worked for two large Fortune 10 companies, General Electric and IBM, early in my career, both at their R&D labs. So I've held a variety of
So you
different
you,
positions. Yeah.
you cover the waterfront. Well, we have that college dean and professor thing in common. So so that's interesting. But tell us about your work now. How are you helping people now?
So I do a fair amount of what I would call mentoring or coaching, pretty much on a ad hoc basis. Yeah, I don't have any long term contracts or clients. Most of these engagements are all from either people I've known in the past, who I've worked with in the past. Some of them have branched out on their own and started a business, an entrepreneurial endeavor, and they're looking for some guidance. Others are, I would say, climbing the corporate ladder, and again, looking for some another pair of eyes and ears to sort of listen to and watch and observe and see what they're doing, and give them some feedback.
To quote Ken Blanchard, you didn't retire, you refired. This other area because
Something
it
like
lights you
that.
up when you talk about it. So to see
Yeah.
that energy is good. Obviously, music's also a passion, but also a passion
Yep.
of helping people and serving people.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I would call it a passion that has a lot of strength in my heart, but not a lot of skill.
We're talking
Yeah,
music, right?
music.
Because
Yes, or maybe
the
everything in
business
life. I
coaching
don't
skill
know.
sounded there. Yeah, sure, sure. Well, um, I'll leave the jokes there. I wanted to go on to so this is like an encore for you. It's it's a second stage what you're doing from that illustrious track record you gave us. Um, how do you find clients? How do you find people to work with, or how do they find you?
Yeah. So before let me make one other comment before I dive into that. When I was thinking
Yeah.
about retiring, I had been very sort of busy career and stuff. And I have a lot of outside interest outside of work, but I also knew I still needed some sort of intellectual challenge, some sort of, intellectual endeavor. And that's what is really great about this sort of coaching and mentoring and helping people, because it for me it does a couple of things. Number one is I'm helping people, I'm helping individuals, which is a great
Right.
thing. And I'm also keeping, sort of, it forces me to keep current. It forces me to read. It forces me to reflect on things that I have learned, and then, share those with others. So back to your question. How do I find clients? In my case, they're almost all either people I have engaged with in the past or referrals. So current customers say, "Hey, I know this guy Bela. He's pretty good at sort of being a sounding board to what you're doing, giving some comments and advice, and he'll always give you something to think about." That's the one thing that I hear from people that I engage with. It's like, "Gee, Bela, I never thought of that, or I never thought about it that way,"
Yeah.
which I think is valuable to. I mean, I wish I would have had more of that in my life. I wish more people would have engaged with me, or I would have been more maybe open to having people engage with me in
Yeah.
that manner. So yeah, it's all referrals, and it's all people that I've worked with in the past. I mean, every once in a while, a new person, reaches out to me via LinkedIn. I don't advertise. I don't promote myself. I don't, speak at conferences. I don't do any of those things because I'm not looking for a full-time endeavor. I'm very
Yeah.
happy. I have three different individuals I'm working with right now, and that's great.
Yeah. Well, you also said what I call the four magic words in the English language. I know a guy. So people know a guy.
Right.
But I'm going to give you some pushback. You do things to remind people that you do exist. So some of those things. What do you do? And you don't think of them as marketing, and that's the beauty of it.
Yes.
Because I write a lot about, I'm a ghostwriter. I get 85% of it from referrals. I know a guy, but then I'm active in keeping my name in front of people because it's not their job to remember I exist. It's my job to remind people I exist. Um, and build relationships. So like having you on this show um, builds a relationship, and if I can send somebody your way, I'd love to do that. But what do you do to remind people that you're out there?
So I have a podcast. I actually have two podcasts. I have
Okay.
one podcast called The Unconventional Path, and it's all about entrepreneurship. And if I had to give you the elevator summary, I would say that I have conversations and discussions with successful entrepreneurs that you've never heard of. Right? There's plenty of podcasts out there that are interviewing the top 100 world's famous entrepreneurs.
Right.
Right? We don't need another one of those. So when I started this with my co-host, the whole idea was, jeepers, there's tons of successful entrepreneurs out there. There's people who've built 5, 10, $20 million successful businesses. Nobody knows who they are. And they have great stories. Oftentimes their stories are a lot better than Elon Musk's story. So, that's sort of that podcast in a nutshell, and that keeps me engaged. I get to I've talked to over 200 of very smart individuals who have started businesses. So it's a way of engaging. It's a way of getting me out there. I
Yeah.
also have another podcast, which is about sailing, and it's about here again. It's sort of a narrow focus. It's a sailing, and here again, I interview individuals who you've probably never heard of, but it's people that I run into in my travels when I'm out sailing my boat. They're not world famous. They're none of that, but it's just common good folk that all again have interesting stories, and that keeps me engaged. And I can't help to talk a little bit about sailing in my business podcast, and I can't help but talk a little bit about business in my sailing podcast, and vice versa. So that helps keep me out there. It helps kind of, I won't use the word promote, but I have gotten some calls, if you will,
Yeah.
inquiries, and some customers via that route, where someone said, "Hey, I heard you on this sailing podcast, and you talked a little bit about your background. And besides having sailing in common, I also run this business." So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'm so glad you brought the sailing part up because um, I co-authored a book called Defining You, and it's that 30-second thing that you give when people say, "Well, can everybody introduce themselves?" and all that. And we always say end with on a personal note. And here's mine. On a personal note, I'm a baseball nut. I have visited 44 Major League Baseball parks, and I have three to go before I touch them all. And my daughter, who's a business partner here, hers is I love the fact that I can do business wherever there's Wi-Fi. But if there was one place I could have my business, it would be on Main Street of Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a baseball nut, she's a Disney nut. And when we speak, people come up to us and they want to talk baseball or they want to talk Disney.
Right.
I knew a
Right.
agency owner in San Diego who loved wine. So it wasn't part of his business development strategy, but he had monthly dinners and people who were wine aficionados, they would gather and do things and all that. And he said,
Right.
you can't
Right.
believe the number of clients that resulted from that. Um, I said, well, I'm not surprised at all because you led with what you were interested in. You were helping other people who were interested in that same subject, and it just broadened that circle of yours. So somebody could say the four magic words. I know a guy,
Yeah.
and
You
it's
know,
not about sailing or wine or baseball.
that's a great point because the way I look at it is if you're talking about sailing or baseball or playing guitar, people are not defensive. They don't feel like they're getting pitched, right? They don't feel like
Right.
you're in the process of asking them for something. And should you be fortunate enough that they're also interested in that topic, now all of a sudden you have an immediate connection. You can develop this conversation and this connection, which often will lead to other things because as your very first question, where do I get my leads from, where do I get my clients from, it's people I've either worked with in the past or referrals. So there's that connection, and I think that's also an often overlooked way of sort of establishing relationships with individuals that may lead to future business.
Yeah. If if you're the right answer for those people, I've found people are very smart, Bela. They know if somebody's in their best interest or not.
That's right.
And if they are, then they'll pursue it. Also, they know you were talking about that when the spidey sense or the oh my gosh, I'm getting pitched. And I love Dale Carnegie's work, but too many people have been Dale Carnegie trained where they'll come up to you and say, what's your biggest problem that you're facing with your business? If I could fix your biggest problem, what would that be worth to you? Others have felt the same way that you feel, but they found that afterward it's like, well, go get away.
Right.
Um, I get it online now. My favorite was somebody blind cold call LinkedIn contact that said, would I like them to be my life coach? And I said, whoa, I said, you need to take me dancing and out to dinner before you ask to be my life coach.
That's
Um,
right.
a little too soon in this relationship here. Uh,
That's right.
so,
100% agree, Henry.
so it's great talking to you. You've got a lot of business wisdom. I'd love to talk to you again. And is there anything to add before we have to say goodbye now?
No, I don't have anything else. I appreciate you having me on the podcast.
What kind of sailboat and where do you sail out of?
So I have a 45-foot Hunter deck salon, which I keep on Narragansett Bay, which is in Rhode Island. It's predominantly there because that's where my son and his wife and two granddaughters live. So it's sort of our summer condo when we go to visit them. And but I've done a fair amount of sailing. I guess I've gone as far north as Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I've gone as far south as Florida, and have made the trip from Florida up to the New England three times. So that's a lot of fun. I enjoy that.
I'm sure she's Yar. And we have Rhode Island in common. My daughter is a museum director, and my son-in-law is a professor at Brown University, and I've got two delightful grandkids. So we get to Rhode Island a lot from
Oh
California.
wow. Yeah,
We
both of
we
my
wish
the
they were at Stanford, but what can you do? You
yeah,
know.
yeah. My son and his wife are
And
both
we're not
on the
going to move
medical.
there.
Yeah. My son and
Yeah.
daughter-in-law are
I'm sorry.
both
What were
on
you
the
saying?
Brown Medical. I said that my son and daughter-in-law are both on the Brown Medical School faculty. Yeah.
Gosh, we're brothers of different mothers here. Bela, thanks so much for being a guest, and to all the viewers, until next time, make it rain.
Thanks, Henry. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.